Hello, my name is Lisa and I'm the artist behind White House Art. Thank you for joining me for today's tutorial where I will run through how to paint a Monstera leaf using watercolors. For a full list of everything you need to get started, be sure to check out the video description below. And please hit the like button if you enjoyed painting along with me, and be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see other quick tutorials just like this one. Alright, so to get started, we're going to draw a loose shape of where we want it to go. So I'm going to draw the form of the leaf, and this helps us know about how big we want everything to be. So we're going to just draw sort of a bubble shape that gets really narrow at the tip and then comes in and gets smaller towards the bottom, again, in kind of a bubble shape with a stem. So once we've got this shape, we can go in and cut in the various sections. So the leaf is known for having these cutouts. So we're gonna go in and make kind of a heart shape at the top. It's not really a heart shape, it's a spade shape, I should say. And then that kind of comes back and comes back out again, just like so. And we're always gonna try and butt up to those original lines that we had drawn. So each side shouldn't be perfectly uniform. That's not the way nature works. So we're gonna wanna just create some variation by ignoring the other side. Just like so. Then I can go in and erase those little lines in between each one. And we'll do the same thing on this side, but I'm covering up my other side so that it's not exact. Just like so. Then we're gonna have to go in and create a few little cutouts in the leaf that actually appear right in the middle. So we'll do that. We'll just lay out a few random spots where we've cut out some of the color. And maybe one more down here. And then I wanna make my stem a little bit finer. So I'll just kind of draw one line where I want it to go. And I think that looks pretty good. Some of these lines where it's a little too pointy, we'll just get rid of those, because I think that looks just a little bit better. All right, so this is a fairly easy painting. We should be able to do it in one pass, maybe two. We're gonna start by adding clear water through the whole thing. And you're gonna wanna have quite a bit of water because it's gonna dry as you work your way around. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start adding it down. I'm being mindful not to get outside the lines and not to cover in these little punch outs. But if I do, that's okay too. With watercolors, I like to just roll with it. If things don't end up exactly the way I thought they would, I'm totally okay with that. All right, so I'll just work our way around, and feel free to pause this video if I'm moving a little bit too fast. That's the joys of tutorials on YouTube. You don't have to keep up with me, you just have to go your own pace. So you can kind of look at it at the side and see if you've missed any spots. Right now I have quite a bit of paint down on the page, and that's totally okay because we're wanting that. We're wanting the paint to really bleed around, so we need quite a bit of water for that to happen. All right, now I'm just gonna shift the sketchbook around, look for blank spots, and then I'm gonna start adding a little bit of lime green. So I'm not gonna make this all one color. Like most of my paintings, I wanna have a variety of colors that show up. So I'm just gonna kind of place colors around where I think they should go. I love the way it's bleeding in. I'm gonna take a little bit of the Viridian green and start adding that in. And you'll see where it's already dried, we're gonna have areas where it doesn't bleed properly. And we'll go in, I'll show you what to do there. So for instance here, where it hasn't bled in, you can just take a little bit of clear water and massage that around so that the paint bleeds. I'm gonna take a little bit of teal, just toss that in somewhere. There's no teal in these leaves, but I think it's fun to have a little bit. Maybe a little bit of the cobalt blue, cerulean blue, I should say. It's not cobalt blue. Throw that in there. And then I'll keep back to my lime green and have that make its way around again. I want the predominant color to be this nice bright green. Whatever green you have on hand, it will work perfectly though. Now I'm going to go in with the darker green again. This one's called Viridian Green, and I'm going to start adding this in some areas. And I'm going to be continuously adding color, and what happens sometimes when you're doing that, when you're continuously adding more water to a painting as it dries, is you're going to have some areas of variation, some areas where it bleeds and doesn't bleed, and that's really what I'm trying to achieve. I want that variation, but I don't want it to end up too dark, so I'm just being mindful to do little bits at a time. I'm going to take a little bit of Payne's Gray now. I'm actually going to just drop that in right here. And the Payne's Gray, when it mixes with that green, is actually going to turn into sort of a forest green. And you want to be mindful of making sure the areas are wet that you're mixing on the page. So if it's not wet, it'll just look like a black line, and that's not what we want. We want it to be a dark green. So I'm using that Payne's Gray to mix the color on the page to create a forest green. Now, if you have a forest green, by all means, you can use it. All right, I'm going to go back in with a little bit of teal. Throw that back in here just to make sure it stays. And I love the way when the teal mixes with the lime green, it creates this really bright, vibrant green. I'm loving that. All right, so we're gonna go in and add some more Payne's Gray and darken some of these areas again. Basically just work your way around the painting over and over again until you get it the shade that you like. Everywhere where I did a little bit darker, I'm gonna go in and darken it even more. And it's important to work fairly quick before it dries. So you can see already we're getting some areas that are drying, and that's what I want to achieve. That is truly, I find that the magical part of watercolors is as they dry, they create some really interesting textures and different layers. Down here is looking a little bit one-dimensional, so I'm going to go in, mix that around on the page. If you move the book around, you're going to notice that the color really bleeds nicely into each other. I find the Payne's Gray has a very, I don't know what the word is, it bleeds a lot on the page, and I love that about it. It doesn't stay put. So some of these areas now are really starting to dry. So as I add more color to them, you're going to notice a lot more differentiation in the layers. So here we're starting to get that. That's what we want. I'm going to take a little bit of Prussian blue and just drop that in here. Sometimes I don't plan on things like adding Prussian blue, but then I just notice that an area where I feel like it would add to it. Prussian blue, when mixed with the green, creates almost like a dark, very dark forest green as well, same as the Payne's Gray, and I like that look. But it has a slight variation. So now we're going to have stem. You don't have to put much thought into that stem, just a straight line down. And we'll just keep adding down here. With watercolors, I do often create paintings like this where I just keep adding to it instead of letting it dry in between. I just keep adding to it so that some really wonderful things start to happen. Now I'm going to try out a little bit of splatters on the page, and then we're going to let it dry. So we're going to do a few little splatters here and there, because sometimes those give you variation that you can't quite achieve when you do it by hand. I'm trying to keep it within the lines. Usually I go all over the place outside of the lines, but for this one, I'm actually keeping it nice and clean. And then I'm going to lift out a little bit of color right beside this stem. And I do that with a clean, dry brush. And then I'm going to pick some other areas where I just want to lift out a little bit of color, just a little bit. For instance, down here, I think it'd be nice to have a little highlight. And then maybe one right about here. And we can go in after and erase these pencil lines, or we can go in, take a liner brush, a little bit of green, and try and go over them a bit. And then a little bit of Payne's gray in some areas, and just go over that again. And wherever it's still wet, it'll bleed out, and that'll look really nice. Just cover up some of those pencil lines. So I'm just going to go around and do that on some of the outside ones. And of course, as I said, you can go around and erase them after. That's not a problem. I just like the way adding that Payne's gray around the edge where it is still wet will create quite a sharp line. And there's something about the Payne's gray that I am always drawn to when working with watercolors. It's not quite black. It's more of a muted black, like a gray, but it has, I don't know, some blue in it. I just really love it. So I strongly recommend it. If you don't have a Payne's gray, I recommend picking one up. When possible, I try not to use a lot of black with watercolor. I do use it, but just not that often. All right, and then just last but not least, I'm gonna throw in a tiny bit more of this green in areas where I notice it's drying, so that I can get even stronger lines between the layers. Some of these areas where that gray is getting a little too strong, I'm actually going to feather it out a bit with some green. Just like so. Just redraw that line in there. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to let it dry now. I'm going to go ahead and sign it. If you enjoyed painting along with me, be sure to hit the subscribe button for other videos just like this one, and please hit the like button. Thank you so much. Have a great day.